Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 at a lovely 10 to 4 in the morning. Once again, hushed tones across the house as everyone else is asleep. Right, so sprint race, a good one. Sets up what should be quite an interesting race for tomorrow, where tyre wear is king. We saw a lot of drivers struggling from tyre wear today. Tomorrow, not only do they have to drive a hell of a lot more, but they'll be starting the race with a hell of a lot more fuel in the car. Heavier cars in general should make that tyre wear even worse than it already was. Let's get into this race, though. It is Lewis Hamilton on pole in the Ferrari, Max Verstappen alongside him. In terms of changes to our grid, Nico Hülkenberg now starts in the pit lane after a suspension change, and our World Championship leader Lando Norris, who won last time out in Australia, he is currently in 6th place after quite a disappointing qualifying for him. But, you look at that and think, surely it can't get worse. Oh, it does. As we're on the grid, Max Verstappen very much pointed towards Lewis Hamilton, but as the lights go out, Lewis Hamilton does have a little bit of a better start and goes right defensive against Max. It looks like out of the top three, it is actually Piastri who gets the better start, but due to Max and Lewis kind of going from one way to the other as they duel for the lead, Piastri is kind of blocked from there and has to try and go around the outside, but can't really make it stick. He gets pushed back. The top three remains the same. Further back, big mistake for Lando Norris. Gets caught out on the curb. Dust gets flown up there. Not entirely sure why he was that far out. It didn't look like he was forced out there. But does get on the curb. Loses 3 places. Already starting P6. Already struggling in what looked like the fastest car of the weekend. He's now down to P9. Behind Lance Stroll. And that is where he stays for the majority of this race. Real disaster of a sprint race for Lando Norris. Further forward, George Russell gets past Charles Leclerc for P4. Fantastic move into turn 14. In the initial phase of this race, Lewis and Max really pull away from the rest of the field. Oscar Piastri, 2.4 seconds behind Max Verstappen after only 1 lap. Lewis Hamilton, though, in the clear air, able to break that DRS gap from Max Verstappen on lap 3. Liam Lawson, obviously in a bad position here, qualified 20th, started the race 19th thanks to Hülkenberg's pit lane start. He does make awesome decisions through this race, but it's not as clean as you would really like. Bagging wheels with Jack Doohan as he gets past for P18 on lap 5. He then gets past Ocon a couple laps later for P17. At this point, drivers starting to push a little bit more. Oscar Piastri has DRS on Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen has DRS on Lewis Hamilton. Lando Norris comes over the radio at this point, sounds very dejected, and says he's struggling on the tyres in P9. That's lap 18 of 19. Isaac Hadjar gets past Gasly, but Gasly able to get the place right back. That's for P15. And now, as we get onto lap 11 of this race, Oscar Piastri has DRS again on Max Verstappen, but now Hamilton has pulled away. No DRS advantage for Max Verstappen. Further back, Carlos Sainz really struggling. He was in P14, really not going well for Sainz so far in these first 2 races for the Williams team. He was in P14, and from 14th to 20th, there was a second gap between everyone. Sainz at the front of this quite long train at the back of the grid. This is when Williams just decided to call him in for new tyres. His tyres were just gone. The only pit stop of the race was Carlos Sainz for new medium tyres. On lap 16, Oscar Piastri finally gets past Max Verstappen into turn 14. That's for 2nd place. Again, showing that, the tyre wear is high, even for the McLarens, who seemed to master the tyres last time out in Australia. But also, overtaking is incredibly difficult, as we know, seemingly everywhere. Pierre Gasly has a beautiful move around the outside of Ollie Behrman for P12 into turn 1, lap 17 of 19. But on the penultimate lap 18 of 19, Lando Norris finally gets past Lance Stroll for P8 to semi-salvage what has to be described as a disappointing sprint race for Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc all over the back of George Russell, but cannot get past him. What looked like here, Leclerc on the radio complaining about the traction out of turn 13, and he saw it on the onboard. Definitely cannot get any speed out of that corner, but everywhere else he was millimetres behind George Russell in this race. Yes, that 1 point going into turn 14, the main overtaking position of this track, the last corner he could not get anything out of it there. And I think realistically what happened here is at the end Verstappen's tyres just dissolved, and Russell was reeling him in and reeling him in. This little battle with Leclerc may have saved Max Verstappen's P3 in this race, but alas, Leclerc couldn't get past Russell, Russell couldn't get past Leclerc. Further down, a little bit of mayhem on the final corner. Doohan goes diving down the inside of Bortoleto and hits him. The two of them have a little spin. Hülkenberg kind of gets caught up in it as well. And Carlos Sainz, who has pitted, let's not forget, on the penultimate corner of the final lap, just takes 3 places. Still no points for him, but gains 3 places at the end of this race. And as we cross the line, it is Lewis Hamilton who wins. The first ever sprint race win for Lewis Hamilton. Never won one in Mercedes. On his first opportunity has taken a sprint race win for Ferrari. But not only that, this is Ferrari's first ever sprint race win. They've never won a sprint race before. So, very good weekend thus far for Ferrari. What a difference a week makes. Last week they looked absolutely dreadful. Lewis Hamilton, statistically the second worst Ferrari debut in 25 years, or whatever that stat was. Here he is, got pole yesterday, led every lap here, led the way. I know he was in that the clean air, so it was easier for him to look after those tyres, but he had Verstappen on the back of him from an early point of the race. It wasn't all straightforward for him. Great job from him here to take this first victory. They're not getting ahead of themselves too much, it seems. At the end of the day, it's a sprint race win, not a feature race win, but who knows, the way this weekend's going, he could take a feature race win as well. We'll have to wait and see. Oscar Piastri, great drive from him into P2. After everything that happened last weekend, he's looking to recover from there. He's got more points in the sprint race of China than he did in the main race of Australia in second place. Max Verstappen in third place. Again, the Red Bull doesn't seem to be all there, but he got a good result out of it. And right now he sits just 2 points behind Lando Norris, which you would not be expecting after last week. George Russell, yet again, just has one of those quiet races where he crosses the line and he's in a really good position, so he finishes 4th there. Great from him. Charles Leclerc seemed to struggle in 5th. Definitely wanted more out of that. Maybe a setup change going into the rest of the weekend. He can be up there with Lewis Hamilton for the rest of the weekend. Yuki Tsunoda was in 6th, a great result for him. Antonelli in 7th. And the last of the point scorers in this sprint race is Lando Norris, in what can only be described as a very disappointing sprint race. Lance Stroll just missing out in 9th. Alonso was 10th. Albon 11th. Gasly 12th. Hadjar 13th. Lawson 14th. Ollie Behrman in 15th place. Ocon was 16th, Sainz 17th, Bortoleto 18th, Hülkenberg 19th, and Jack Doohan, after that incident with Bortoleto, is the last place finisher, 20th. So, there you go. That was quite a fun sprint race. We'll be back in a few hours' time for all things qualifying. I will see you then. Until next time, have a good one. Goodbye.